And we have to start, though, with that breaking news, a report that Gabriel Jesus has reportedly ruptured his ACL. It's just desperate news, obviously for the club, but more particularly for him.
Nightmare. It's one of the injuries, or it's probably the injury that the footballers would fear most, Jeff. You know, it's just a nightmare. It's miles better to recover from than it used to be, I have to tell you. With obviously the improvements in technology and medical science, but at the same time, bad when you're resigning the fact you're going to be out for months and months and months, and it becomes a mental battle as much as a physical battle with the player coming back. There's you go through ups and downs. You know, you get into the dressing room with the lads, then all of a sudden they're getting out the training ground, you're getting into a gym or getting into a swimming pool and all that kind of stuff. So it's tough, but he'll be fine. He's a wiry character and with a good attitude. But from Arsenal's point of view, if ever, you know, there was any doubt, and there was no doubt, in my opinion, because before the injury to Gabriel Jesus, they needed to strengthen in the forward department, particularly centre forward through the middle. I think it's imperative now.
Yeah, well, they could hardly have had a worse few days.
No.
2-0 down to the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final.
And a big game tomorrow, Jeff.
Yeah, big game coming up, and of course out of the FA Cup as well. Here's a text. Robin Somerset says, "Morning, gents. With everyone looking for a centre forward at the moment, why is no one mentioning Tammy Abraham?
Just read that.
Love to have him at West Ham. And if Arsenal looking for someone to put the ball in the back of the net, well, he'd probably fit the bill there, wouldn't he?"
Yeah. I mean, that's a great shout, that. I mean, it's relative going kind of under the radar a little bit. I mentioned the fact he got the winner in the Milan Derby, the Cup final, which was played in Saudi for whatever reason. Yeah, well, why not? Proven goal scorer, does get goals, will get goals.
He's sort of a forgotten man, isn't he, since he went abroad?
Well, it was a couple of years ago. He was a natural successor to Harry Kane at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Big breaking news this morning. Gabriel Jesus has reportedly ruptured his ACL. So Arsenal need a new striker, well, at least one, in this transfer window. But how difficult will it be to find someone? Well, Drive host and Premier League 100 Club member Darren Bent isn't confident Arsenal can find their man in January.
It's time for now a regular centre forward to come in. Unless you go and
okay, look at Dominic Solanke, right?
Yeah.
I think he's been brilliant at Spurs.
Do you know what? He has been brilliant, right? But let's look at his numbers, right? Last season for Bournemouth, incredible, right? 100%. This season he's got 7 goals. So's Kai Havertz. So he's not the answer. That's the problem. I think in world football there are 3, 4, 5. I say 5, but that's me just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Guarantees. So you got Kane,
Yeah.
never going to get him. Haaland, never going to get him.
Yeah.
Even Lewandowski, guaranteed goals.
Yeah.
Victor Osimhen, maybe you could put him in the mix, and then you've got Isak, right? Newcastle, unless Newcastle are going to sell him for 100 million, 150 million, you're not going to get him. So then you're scratching around. I personally would have gone for Ivan Toney.
Yeah, and I agree about Ivan Toney. We mentioned Tammy Abraham this morning, which is just
one that comes into the equation.
Yeah, not such a stupid shout, that's for sure. Look, let's join our chief football correspondent Alex Crook for more. Morning, Crookie.
Morning, Crookie.
Morning, boys.
So look, Gabriel Jesus now out for the foreseeable future with that suspected ACL. It leaves Arsenal in a right pickle, doesn't it? Any clues on the horizon about who they might move for, if they move for anyone?
Well, first and foremost, this is another real dose of bad luck for Arsenal. Obviously, Bukayo Saka out for the foreseeable future. They've been without Martin Odegaard for some key games this season. And now just when he's found a little bit of goal-scoring form, Gabriel Jesus won't play again this season either. One name that's been mentioned to me over the past few days as a potential replacement is that of Dusan Vlahovic at Juventus. He's a player that I know Mikel Arteta has admired in the past, and he may well be available with Juventus confident of beating Tottenham to signing Koulo Muani from Paris Saint-Germain. So if that deal goes through, then potentially he's one name that Arsenal could look at. You mentioned Victor Osimhen there. Obviously, he's on loan at Galatasaray from Napoli, but I think he is keen to play in the Premier League, so maybe that's one they could explore as well. Obviously, Marcus Rashford has been linked in some quarters with Arsenal. They've always played that down to me. I'm not sure he's necessarily the type of personality that Mikel Arteta would want in his dressing room, but who knows? They might get desperate between now and the end of the window. So big decisions to make. They should have signed a striker in the last transfer window. I agree with what Darren Bent was saying there. There aren't necessarily a plethora of top-class number 9s, but they surely have to bring somebody in now. Otherwise, it's really hard to make a case for them reeling in Liverpool at the top of the table.
No, it's amazing, cricket. Osman, Victor Osman's the one I'd love to see play in these shows. I really, really do. And I actually think it's just a matter of time before he does come here. What about any movement in Manchester? Both sides of Manchester. Kyle Walker looks as though there's definitely a deal to Italy to be had there. And what can you tell us about Marcus Rashford, cricket?
Well, Marcus Rashford it could be a victim of this Kyle Walker move to AC Milan, because if that does go through, they can't sign both players this window because of Brexit. Serie A changed their rules. You can only have a certain number of non-EU players. They're already up to their quota, so they could only sign one Premier League-based, one British player in this window. It looks like they're focusing most of their attentions on Kyle Walker. Spanish media reporting that Barcelona retain a very keen interest in Marcus Rashford. I'm intrigued to see where he would fit in there, but I think that would be his preferred move. I think we're going to be talking about Marcus Rashford probably right up until the end of the deadline, maybe even on deadline day itself. In terms of Manchester City, we're expecting them to be busy this month. They've already got an agreement in place with Lens to sign their centre-back, Abdulkadir Kusanov. That one will go through, and they've reached an agreement as well with Palmeiras, a £30 million fee agreed for their 18-year-old defender, Vitor Reis. Now, what's interesting here is that when other Premier League clubs, Brighton and Wolves included, were looking at signing Vitor Reis, Palmeiras wanted him to stay and play for them in the Club World Cup at the end of the season. Looks like Manchester City are going to sign him in this window, and he'll immediately become a Manchester City player. Obviously, we know they're also in talks with Marmoush, the Frankfurt striker. We expect that one to ramp up. So I think City are probably going to be the busiest club this window.
What about West Ham, Crookie? I mean, obviously Graham Potter comes in a sort of fairly unenviable position when he hasn't got Bowen or Fulkrug or Antonio, and Crescencio Somerville's going to miss out in all probability tonight as well. I mean, they desperately need a striker, but where are they shopping at?
Well, they do, and I think, again, you talk about bad luck. Graham Potter's very first game in charge. Nicholas Fulkrug only just got himself fit. Looks like he's up to sharpness, and all of a sudden he's going to be out for at least 3 months. So, yeah, a number 9, an absolute necessity. We know there is interest in Elia Wahi at Marseille. They're looking for £20 million to make that deal happen. I've mentioned a couple of times on talkSPORT, Taiwo Awoniyi at Forest is another target. I think you're talking a similar fee for him, and Forest will want to sign a replacement. There is still interest in Evan Ferguson, but I think he's got injured at the worst possible time. He's still sidelined by an ankle problem. I don't think he's going to be back to play for Brighton at Ipswich on Thursday night. So that would be a little bit of a gamble, and that's if Brighton want to let him go at all. So there's a lot of clubs who are looking for forwards in this transfer window, and there aren't that many to go around.
Crookie, thanks very much indeed.
Have a good day, mate.
Have a brilliant day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. 03717 223344. Let's take a quick Arsenal call before the news, shall we? Ben is an Arsenal fan. He wants to have his say on which striker Arsenal should sign. Morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Ali. How you doing?
Very well,
good,
thank you.
So who are you thinking?
Well, to be honest, I look down the Premier League table, and I say this even if Jesus wasn't injured. And, well, it's actually embarrassing to say that most of the teams below us have probably got a centre forward that would get into our side. So I'd look at Watkins or Duran from Villa. Evan Nilsson from Bournemouth would get into our team. Raul Jimenez would get into our team. João Pedro, Mbeumo from Brentford, Mateta from Palace, and Mateus Cunha from Wolves. Even Dilat from Ipswich, if you wanted to go for a younger option. So I don't really buy into this. There's no one available. And then if you could go outside the Premier League with the obvious names that have been mentioned for a long time, Osimhen, Vahalovic, and the rest of them. So there's plenty of options there.
Which one would you prefer? Who would be your preferred option, Ben?
Well, I'd prefer Isak, but out of all of them, he's probably the most unlikely because Newcastle will want silly money.
Yeah.
But honestly, Ali, you'd probably do a job for us still. But Mateta at Palace, I think, would be a good option. I don't know. Or Watkins, if he's feeling unsettled by Duran's emergence at Villa, maybe.
I think Ollie Watkins will be the shout for many Arsenal fans. And obviously, from Villa's perspective, John Duran, he's got, 6 or 7 years in terms of age advantage. I think Duran's 21 and Ollie Watkins, 28 now, maybe? And he's a natural finisher, isn't he? But whether Villa will be willing to sell.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Having said that, PSR is around the corner, and Villa have always got one eye on that, especially with their European commitments, because they've got different rules in Europe as well.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.